All right, guys, what's up? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And as of the time of this recording, we are officially 10 days away from the release of Splitgate 2, which is going to go immediately into launch. So the beta ends when they officially launch. Now, even though this game isn't out yet, it's already surpassed XDefiant. Now, I know that some of you guys in the comment section that just love to mess around are going to be like, oh my gosh, Jack, you supported XDefiant so bad, and how do you do XDefiant so dirty? This game, Splitgate 2, is not even out yet, and how dare you? How dare you say that it's already surpassed XDefiant? How do you do that? Is this what you do to the game that, you know, resurrected your channel and all that kind of stuff? How dare you, Jack? Hold up a second, okay? So I've got here a small little list that basically proves that if these things happen in beta, which have already been said to happen, so to speak, if not upon full release, this game is definitely going to accomplish things that XDefiant, unfortunately, never did accomplish. So let's get into a few of those things on this list that I could think of as of right now, shall we? The first thing is that from everything that I've seen in the alpha, from everybody that's played and things that they've said in the comment section, as well as videos that were shown and spoken for, there's no desync and hit detection issues in the alpha. Now, if you guys remember with XDefiant, unfortunately, the desync issue was something that was consistent but was improving as time went on. However, not as fast as we wanted it to, unfortunately. But from everything that I've seen, as far as Splitgate 2 is concerned, is that the hit detection is actually pretty damn solid. So that's one way that it's already surpassing XDefiant. Now let's go on to the next one. We've got last gen support over here, ladies and gentlemen. That is something that XDefiant tried to do. And then before launch, they unfortunately announced that they couldn't get last gen support going, unfortunately. So that right there, the fact that this is going to be available on the PS4 and on the Xbox One, as well as I believe that I read it said the Steam Deck as well, is a big W to me, right? Because we all know that the last gen consoles are more than capable of handling 1080p at 60 frames per second. So we're good on that aspect, right? They can't do the additional frame rates or maybe up to 4K or 1440p or whatnot like the current gen consoles can, or like how PC can. But 1080-60 on a game like this, I think, is very reasonable, because even if you look at games like Call of Duty or even like a Titanfall or the more recent Halos, or like a Halo 5, for instance, that ran on 60, you know, it is a decently smooth experience. Now, obviously, 120 or more is even better, but basically 120 is even better. However, 60 is still good, especially when you consider how pretty good those older Call of Duty titles felt, you know, before Modern Warfare 2019. I don't think the community ever had a problem with that. And the same thing goes with more recent Halos as well, particularly Halo 5 and Halo 6, or Halo Infinite at this point. All right, let's continue moving forward. Next up, beta is essentially the release. So instead of getting a break from beta to full release, these devs have decided that we are going from beta to full-on release. That is a big one. That means you're not going to have members of the community, like myself included, saying, oh, I don't want to put this game down and I got to wait until the full release, but at the same time, I'm excited. At the same time, you know, I got to let these developers do what these developers do. I'll be patient. I'll make it happen, whatever, you know. But now, especially for those people that are a hella impatient, well, you don't have to wait. And with XDefiant, we did have to wait. We waited about 3 weeks or so until the full release. And at first, we didn't even know when the beta was going to go live. It's not like we knew. But we found out, obviously, when you go to the Splitgate YouTube page, or if you go to their official X or Twitter, you know, you'll see when does the beta end? When we release. So however long the beta is going to be is kind of irrelevant, because we will go into full release. Now, in terms of what the difference is going to be, I think there's going to be an update, and I think there's going to be a lot of modifiers and stuff, because For beta, they're going to be getting a lot of feedback, a lot of data, et cetera, and stuff like that for the community. So that way, when they go on to full release, it'll be like, first of all, it'll be like the first, official season, if I'm not mistaken, from beta onto official season, and then let the games begin in terms of the main feast. But at the same time, the beta by all means is no appetizer. It is the game, but I think everything will just be a little bit more smoother, a little bit more ironed out, and a little bit more in terms of what the community wants. So, because ultimately that's what this game's going to be. All right, next up, and this is a big one. We've got ourselves a map maker / editor that's going to be coming into the game. And that is absolutely huge. And it's already been teased that it's going to happen for the beta. As a matter of fact, we've gotten a teaser trailer so far that's very short for the beta. And I'm assuming within the next week or so, we're going to get a full-on trailer, right? Because we've gotten a teaser. So therefore, I think we're going to get details in terms of what those game modes are, in terms of how many game modes. The teaser said 10 plus, infinite maps and stuff like that, and more details on that. I think a lot of players, as well as content creators like yours truly, are going to be really excited when the trailer comes out, because there's going to be people out there breaking it down. There's going to be all sorts of things going on. And for me personally, I find that very, very exciting, because this game so far, according to the devs, we've only seen less than 10% of the game in terms of what the content is and all that other stuff. So that right there has me personally excited. All right, let's go on to the next one. This is kind of a question mark. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe some of you guys will can basically talk on this. But custom games. If we're not getting custom games on beta, I'm pretty much almost certain that we're going to get it on release. Custom games is a big one, and it didn't come for a while in a game like XDefiant, obviously. But the fact that we're getting custom games is really huge, right? We all know the power of custom games, and we're not just talking about streamers and content creators, but we're also talking about just playing with your friends. And of course, when you have a map editor or a map maker, right? I mean, doesn't that go with custom games? And then eventually they'll probably release a server browser or something like that, or a custom game browser. Because when you have a map editor, you know what's coming next, right? Because with custom games, you can edit your games. And then, of course, you got your map editor to edit your maps. So it's like, okay, you can create your own game modes on your own maps from the ground up. That'll be really good. And then the devs have already expressed that they're really looking forward to feedback and what works and what doesn't work in the game. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be things that have been created by the community themselves that are going to be put into this game, and we're talking things that are familiar as well as things that are new. The only thing I'm worried about is that if somebody creates Nuketown, which we know somebody will if they can, right? If they create a version of Nuketown, right? Obviously Splitgate 2 style, I wonder if that's going to get any sort of trouble from Activision, because we know how they are, right? But anyway, so that's a really big one. Okay, so next up, this game is not published by Ubisoft. The game is developed by 1047 Games, who is also the publisher as well, right? So they're not just the devs, they're also the publisher. So therefore, they make the rules, they're in control, all that good stuff. So this is a good thing. This is a good thing. If you think about it, if you think about it from a single player perspective, when you look at the indie game developers, right? Indie games are rocking, right? So if you take that concept and you apply it to a multiplayer game, you've got yourself a hell of an interesting concept that really has potential to make it very far. But ultimately, it's the community that will decide that. But again, if the devs really have the players' interest at heart, I have no doubt that that's going to happen. But I know that once the beta releases, that the devs themselves are going to have to hit the ground running, because quite frankly, not only are they working towards a release, but they're also working on making adjustments for the players, because we know in this day and age, players have very little patience, and they'll wait, but they won't wait for too long. You know what I mean? So, all right, next up, of course, we've got 10 plus modes. We obviously don't know what those modes are, but 10 plus modes is great. We didn't, to my knowledge, if I remember correctly, if you don't count ranked, of course, which, the ranked modes had a few modes that were from pubs as well, but when you're talking about 10 plus game modes, I think that has surpassed XDefiant as well. So when you look at everything, when you start from, you lay everything out on the table, this game, is definitely in a spot to where it doesn't seem like it was rushed. And it seems like the devs have the community's interest at heart, just like the devs at XDefiant did. So basically what we have here is a very unique situation, because not only is Splitgate the type of game that it is in terms of having some attributes from all these other first-person shooters that we're very familiar with and adding portals to them in one solid game, it also is the kind of team, the kind of game that has a development team behind it that actually seems to have the community's best interest at heart. So, which is what XDefiant did as well. However, XDefiant also had Ubisoft behind them, just lurking over and saying what they can and cannot do. This is not the case from the looks of things with Splitgate. So therefore, this game also surpasses XDefiant in terms of the amount of potential that it actually has. Because if you think about it, you've got yourself a map maker /editor, right? And the community can do all sorts of crazy things. If you see what community members have done in Forge with Halo Infinite, for instance, that they can create things for Splitgate 2 as well as members of the community that actually are interested in creating specific type of game modes and a specific type of map. And there's going to be a lot of influences from other games that continue to develop this game from a community standpoint that literally puts it in the community's hands. And that is one of the biggest factors right there, that if you look at XDefiant, they never really had that feature, right? So when you look at it from all these different angles, guys, this game has already surpassed XDefiant. The only thing it hasn't done yet is released. And it will release, and it's going from beta all the way to full release without stopping. So as someone who's interested in the game, myself, beyond just a content creation standpoint, I'm very thankful for that, because it's like you're having a good time with the game and it's like you have to worry, oh my gosh, this beta is going to end. We don't have that problem. We go from beta straight to full on release. If anything, they might have to shut it down for a few hours or whatever it is in order for them to get the update out and stuff like that, and to rebuff the servers or whatever else it is. But pretty much I'm excited for it. And I also want to say a personal congratulations to the devs, because Splitgate has a unique story in terms of how the first one came to fruition, and how it was all an idea from a college dorm room. This literally is a game that has been developed from the fans of first-person shooters. The CEO of 1047 Games himself is literally a fan of, Halo, Call of Duty, et cetera, who is a developer and a founder of 1047 Games. And, he and a handful of people got together and released Splitgate 1 after 5 years or whatever it was, until they got the game to full release. And fast forward all this time later, after Splitgate 1 went down, we have Splitgate 2. So, I wanted to congratulate them, not just because of the release of this game, but because of the fact that the original game, Splitgate 1, was like a concept in comparison to what this game is going to be. So after all of this time, this concept that has been, Splitgate 1, which was essentially in comparison to this game kind of like an advanced tech demo, is going to come to full fruition. And for somebody who appreciates art, for somebody who appreciates passion and hard work, I have to say, congratulations to the founder, congratulations to all the devs. And I'm really glad that we have nearly 200 developers that actually have very good and impressive first-person shooter background development, which is only going to help this game even more, because we know that the weapons are going to be solid. We know the maps are going to be solid. We know that all of the fundamental things that essentially make a solid first-person shooter are all going to be intact, and they're going to be working properly, and it's going to flow the way it should. It's a big difference when somebody knows first-person shooters versus somebody who doesn't. And as a player and a fan of all these first-person shooters, I can't be thankful enough. I can't be more excited than what I am now. So, and of course, as I close here with this commentary, I've mentioned previously when XDefiant went down, I said, guys, let's keep our heads up and let's be as optimistic as possible. And again, I'm paraphrasing here. I've said something along those lines, right? And it doesn't matter what the context was, because what I said was, you just never know. When one door closes, a whole bunch more open. And that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Isn't that kind of like a metaphor or whatever you want to call it, or hyperbole or whatever the hell the term is to say this? Because one door closes, another one opens. That's literally Splitgate if you think about it. So if you think about it, it's like it's been right under my nose, right under our noses the entire time. And we're getting it in the form of Splitgate. And for me, from both a content creator standpoint as well as a gaming standpoint, I couldn't be more thankful. So, and again, congratulations to the developers of Splitgate 2. I'm glad they get to see their vision finally come full circle into release for all of us. And I can't wait to play it. And I know that there are those of you out there too in the community that are very passionate about this game. And I, for one, am very much looking forward to seeing how the game feels, how the game plays, the smoothness of the hit detection that I've seen, the movement that I've seen, and just putting everything together and getting used to a brand new first-person shooter again that I am interested in. Because quite frankly, there really hasn't been any franchise, any new franchise that I really, that I haven't been interested in until now. So for me, that's exciting, as well as the other things mentioned in this video. So with that being said, guys, I want to know if there's anything in the comment section that you guys want to say in terms of excitement, in terms of like anything, in terms of Splitgate 2. Let me know down below. I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say. So with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.